Okay, I think we're on. Wait for some people to catch up.
All right. I can't find one I like here. Oh, I have one.
There's nobody on.
Well, I have one for you. So, while we're waiting. Which is the place name for Spanish red wines made primarily from Tempranillo and Grenache blends? Rioja or Rioja?
Rioja.
That is correct. Oh, we got a few people. Hi,
Hello.
Kelly. Hi, Melissa. I missed who else? Hi, Bart. Okay, hopefully I come up here. Oh, there you are. Okay, I got us too.
Okay, trivia time.
Well, we wait.
Are you going to go or am I going to go?
You can go. You asking me or we're asking everybody?
True or false? The legs of swirled wine running down the side of the glass indicate quality. True or false? Legs indicate quality. Don't cheat. Yeah.
So, the question is...
False. Jesse, you are correct. Crystal, you're not. So, because it's a question and Lorene cheated.
I didn't cheat. I knew the answer.
Yeah, but you cheated for them.
I did.
You did. When we talk about legs, we talk about when you swirl a wine. It's a question, and Lorene cheated.
I didn't cheat. I knew the answer.
Yeah, but you cheated for them. Feedback.
Sorry about that. All right.
When you swirl a wine and you stop swirling and you see the wine run down the side of the glass, that's called legs. And all that is basically an indication of the viscosity of the wine and the evaporative rate of the alcohol from the wine. And so heavy wines, those and alcohol in wine is creates body. It's one of the components of wine. Evaporates at different rates, and therefore the high alcohol, heavy-bodied wines tend to cling to the glass more. However, you may also see that in sweet wines. So if you swirl like a Riesling, and it's got a lot of sugar in it, it will also maybe cling to the glass, again, because of body and viscosity. So it has nothing to do with quality whatsoever.
And I apologize, even though this is like week, 100, I swear. It feels like we've been doing this forever. I'm really enjoying it. I still can't quite figure out the Facebook thing, so it takes me a second to get to the comments. So I'm figuring it out. I'm not ignoring you. I'm trying to figure out how to...
Did you get to them?
Get your comments. No, I did not get to them. So, but I will. Ron can keep talking.
All right, well, thank you, and welcome again to another Monday night wine tasting on your couch. We are in our kitchen, not on our couch. Lorene says that if we did tasting in the living room on the couch, she would have to wear pants.
I have pants on. I'd have to wear pants. I have pants on.
I'm sorry. She would have to wear something other than sweatpants is the key there. She is wearing pants.
I am.
I, on the other hand, am not. So
that's not true either.
This is just sort of our randomized tasting of 3 wines. We've got a Chardonnay. As I always joke on the one day out of the year where it makes sense, the International Talk Like a Pirate Day. The joke is, what is a pirate's favorite wine?
He gave you the answer. He cheated.
Chardonnay.
Still can't get it to her. I'm getting there. I will figure it out.
So we're doing a Chardonnay from Napa Valley. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to be doing... We don't have snacks. We wish we had snacks. We should have snacks.
Way to go, Jeff. I like the way you put that in readable format.
And then we're doing the Palacio de Burgo, Rioja, Crianza, which we'll talk about. And then the Justin Cabernet from Paso Robles. Those are the 3 wines we're going to be tasting tonight. Next week, we have our wines picked out, and I'll mention that while we pick up a few stragglers here.
And will I still continue to try to figure it out?
Next week, we are doing a little theme of Argentina. Argentina is going to be the theme. So we're going to be doing either a Chardonnay or a Torontis. It's going to be up to you which one you choose, kind of, and based on availability because we don't have a ton of either one of them. Then we are doing a Malbec. If you recall, a few weeks ago, we did a rosé of Malbec, the Hay Rosé Malbec. We are doing the regular rosé, one of their rosés from Riccatelli.
Oh, keep going. Then I've got something we got to comment on.
And then we're doing, the last one is the Tamari Red Blend, which I believe is a blend of Cabernet Franc and Merlot, which will open us up to a kind of cool discussion of Bordeaux, oddly, Bordeaux, France. So what's the...
When we, what do the legs indicate? Does it indicate quality? It does not. Did you go in to say what it actually does indicate? Did I miss that? Because I was trying to pay attention to my...
focused on something else. As usual, not listening to me.
Sorry. I was listening.
Clearly not.
Okay. Anyway, move on.
All right. Do we want another trivia question or should we just taste?
Let's just taste.
Right.
We haven't had it. I haven't had any yet. Although I smelled it. Chardonnay. So, all right. First wine is the Mondavi, the Robert Mondavi Winery Chardonnay. Oh, look at that. We have the wrong vintage open. We should. Do we Darn,
have
we have to open a second bottle. I got the right vintage. I have pants on. You'll be able to see.
So I think it's supposed to be the 2015, and we had 2 bottles of them in the.
We had several. We have more than 2. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So we had several bottles of it, and we have the 2017 open, but Lorene's going to get the 2015, and of course that means I gotta get a glass. Stand by. Ow! Oh, that was my knee. Ouch. Oh.
Are you okay in there?
No, I crammed my knee on the counter. All right.
No, I wasn't lying when I said we have several bottles because we like this wine. The 14,
Oh, we should do a vertical.
which we are. Oh, we should. Which we are not supposed to be tasting tonight.
That would just be us drinking, though.
Pain is funny, Bart. I agree. And then the 15, which is what I think all of you have, unless for some reason you grabbed or were given, the 17 like we have. So Ron's got to open that one. But it'll be fun for us to see how it changes. Oh, Diane has the 17 too. That's funny. We must have had some 17s mixed in, and somehow we got them. That's good. So I can talk about the 17 while Ron is opening.
I don't have any notes on 17, but I'm assuming it's relatively similar. Can you hand me the 15?
I can even see without my glasses. Yeah. Yes. So you have the 17 too, Kelly?
Huh.
Do most people have the 17? Did we actually end up with the 17? Anybody else out there commenting? Oh. Well, we have the right wine. We all have the 17s.
So do you not want me to open this one?
Well, we can talk about both. How's that? Good for anybody who has the 15. We'll talk about them.
And I did not look at the tech sheet for the. Oh, Barb has the 15.
Oh, we do have one person with a 15. At least.
I did not look at the tech sheet. Look up the tech sheet for the 2017. So if you have the 2017, the tech sheet that you have is not the accurate one, because we thought we were all on the 2015. So
probably what happened is one of the shops had a different one.
my apologies.
Probably what happened. So. Good thing it's still good, regardless of the year you got. And I apologize, I still haven't figured out how to get to my comments, so I'm really struggling here tonight.
Can't you just join through your...
Oh, maybe I can. Let me try that. I'll try. You can keep talking. So. Ron thinks I need to join through my personal page.
If anybody out there knows how she can send us a message or something.
I'm just a little slow today.
Okay, so 2015 is in the logo glass.
Okay.
But I don't know if you'll see them any faster than we see them then up on here.
I don't know either.
Weston had 2017.
That's probably what happened. So.
All right.
So, I won't blame it on our distributors, but sometimes we get the wrong vintages from our distributors too. Sorry, Chris. We don't mind when that happens.
What? Never mind. I won't give away the trade secret. So, all right. Can we drink now?
Yeah, I was waiting for you.
They're already drinking. We should be drinking.
Start it.
Okay, so Napa Valley, you know, one of the most famous wine regions in the country, kind of in the world.
I would say so. And one of my favorites. Absolutely one of my favorites.
Yeah, they do a lot of things really good. And if you look back at the history of Napa Valley and the history of winemaking and wines, especially sort of the popular, more modern generation, the Mondavi family is intricately linked. I mean, completely tied to that history. And Robert Mondavi being a primary ingredient in that. And very, very quick history. Cesar Mondavi is Robert Mondavi's father. And he had two sons, Cesar did, Robert and Peter. And they're actually born in Minnesota. And then moved out to, there was actually, Robert Mondavi was born in Virginia, Minnesota, which is a small town north of the seas. The only reason I know where it is because I used to run hunt tests and field trials there.
Those are dog things for those who don't know. And you'd be okay if you don't know it.
And then they moved to California. And during Prohibition, that time, they started a business moving fruit and transporting fruit. And then during the time, Liz, thank you very much. Liz is putting the...
All right. Oh, is this a Liz wine? Maybe it's a Liz wine.
I would assume, otherwise she's not going to be given...
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
And I did get a comment on how to get to the link, and I can't get to it. You know, I swear Facebook changes things. Like, our two pages are slightly different because I swear they're different because Facebook does different, not because I am technologically a little bit...
our pages are different. And I don't know if it's the way I set them up. Yeah, like where publishing tools are and all that.
It's totally different. So, and today I can't get to our page, so I don't know. So hopefully Sarah's going to be on soon, and she'll be able to answer. So, oh, poor Liz. She tried. She can't quite do it. So we aren't able to get to it after all.
Yeah, we'll try to put a link to the
17.
The 17 tasting sheet. We'll put a link on that in the feed.
But more important is tasting it, which is what we're doing right now. So we should get to that because I am having issues and I'll just keep pretending to. So
they start a fruit distributor transportation thing. And then in like early 60s, I think 1963, Robert encourages his father, Cesar, to buy the old Charles Krug winery. And they do that. And so the three of them sort of run it. Mostly it's a Robert and Peter thing. And Peter's doing the winemaking. Robert's doing a lot of the marketing and sales. And they have a disagreement that, by the way the story goes, actually ended in a fist fight. And they split. And so Peter stays with the Charles Krug. Robert goes off and founds Robert Mondavi Winery. And then they sort of do their whole thing. And they made up and did a wine together at some point in time. But then each of their family members, their offspring, their kids, are also in the wine world. And have done some great things. We carry wines from all of them. So anyway, that's a very brief story, but very intricately involved with the development of wines. So this one is labeled Napa Valley. However, at least the 2015 is really interesting because it's a blend. And I'm going to just read from the text sheet since some of you, actually you all have it. So you see the appellation is Napa Valley AVA. And it has the percentages of grapes that are from the different regions. It's primarily 68% Chardonnay fruit from Los Carneros. Carneros is the most southern wine-growing region in Napa. It's the closest to San Francisco Bay, so it's cooler climate. We've talked about this. Chardonnay likes cooler climate. It comes out a little bit leaner, kind of like Pinot Noir. And then there's a little bit from Stags Leap. And then there's actually 8% from Russian River Valley. And Russian River Valley is in Sonoma County. And then there's a little bit from Yountville, which is in Napa, and then small percentages. So the question that begs is, it's labeled Napa Valley, but there's fruit from Sonoma Valley in it. And the reason that's permissible is because if a wine is labeled as a sub-AVA, smaller than I think it's a state designation, it can have, it must have 85% of the fruit from that one AVA. So it's labeled Napa Valley. It's got more than 85% fruit from Napa Valley. It has a little bit of Sonoma fruit. Therefore, it can still be labeled as Napa Valley. A couple of other things on the tasting sheet that I'm going to draw your attention to before I start to sip. And I'm going to do the 15 first, since that's what we're talking about. Then we're going to taste the 17. And Lorraine and I will sort of chat between us what we think is the difference.
Just a couple quick things. I just posted the 2017. Thanks, Liz. I got it. It got posted just to the Facebook page. And as other people are now sharing with me, they're also having issues with Facebook, and I can't get to the comments other than to see them. So I apologize, but go ahead. So the 17 is up.
And because she can't find the links, I will be watching the screen here and try to respond moderately in real time. So the 2015 tasting sheet, a couple of things I want to point out because it tells you something about the wine and the winemaking, is in the bottom paragraph under the winemaking. It says that 70% of the juice was fermented in French oak barrels, of which is 16% new. So we've had the conversation. French oak, American oak are the two most popular oaks. Hungarian oak is sort of the third one. Most American oak actually comes from places like Missouri, the Midwest, Minnesota, Dustin Valley vintners. Dustin Valley actually use a little bit of Minnesota and Wisconsin oak. French oak barrels impart a little bit less oak characteristic. Okay, so Liz says the 2017 is 15% Russian River Valley and 9% Steak Leap, 76% Carneros. And I assume it is still labeled Napa because it has 15% Russian River fruit. That means it got 85% Napa Valley fruit, and so it can still be labeled Napa Valley. So only a small, or 70% was fermented in French oak barrels. The balance was cold fermented in stainless steel tanks to retain the bright acidity. And then this is the line I want to draw your attention to. Partial malolactic fermentation balanced the lively acidity and added complexity. I think we've had the conversation, so I'm just going to mention it real quick. Malolactic fermentation is the bacterial fermentation that creates or changes malic acid, which is apple-like acid, crisp tart acid, to lactic acid, which is round smooth acid like milk acid. So malolactic fermentation changes that dynamic, and what that does in the wine is it softens the acidity a little bit, and it can result in aromas and flavors of dairy. So butter, buttery characteristics, butterscotch, some of those things can come from the diacetyl that's created in that process. So that's malolactic fermentation. So just reading about the wine could tell you a little bit about what the deal is with it. Then the next sentence I want to draw your attention to is, each lot was aged on the yeast lees, which is called in French sur lie, or on the lees, and was hand stirred regularly through bétonnage. Bétonnage is the stirring of the wine in barrel or whatever it happens to be. Throughout the 9 months of aging. So it's aged for oak in 9 months. Sur lie, so on the lees aging. What happens is, yes, the 15 is exactly the same. 99% Chardonnay, 1% Semillon.
According to the text sheet, it says it's 100% Chardonnay. I'm looking at it. Liz sent it.
Oh.
So the text sheet. So that's the other weird thing is we in the wine industry will find that text sheets say different things, and we learn different things by looking at different places. So bottom line is this is almost all Chardonnay. It is from California. It is primarily from Napa. But what Ron was just talking about with the malolactic and the aged sur lie on the lees is actually in both of these, because that's also almost verbatim in the 2017 text sheet. So the interesting thing is they probably did just cut and paste that. That's probably just typical in their Chardonnay. What they do every time.
And they do that to create a consistent wine from vintage to vintage to vintage. And they probably try to get it, because this is sort of the flagship. This is like the mainstay Chardonnay that they produce. And so they want it to be consistent from vintage to vintage to vintage. So they're going to do similar. They're not going to do like all oak one year and like all stainless steel the next year, because that's not going to result in anything that resembles the prior year. So they're going to try to maintain its consistency.
You know, Chuck, you've asked a similar question, and I want Ron to address it because I think it's a really good question, and clearly it's something that you want to know. When you do 1%, 2%, 3%, does it really do anything, and why would they do that to this wine? Because they, of course, in the 15 for sure, we know it added 1%. The 17, maybe it did add 1%, maybe not. Why would they do that?
So we often have asked about that, and the answer really is yes, it makes a difference. And they'll do it for a couple of different things. So grape varietals like this is Semillon. Semillon is a white wine varietal that is, I should say variety because varietal is the wine. So proper vernaculars, it's a white wine grape variety that is used in, and it's blended in to white wines from the Rhone Valley in France. And it tends to have a somewhat viscous mouthfeel. It gives it a little bit of texture. It is actually, if you had like a full Semillon or Viognier Semillon blend, and you look at it and you swirl it in your glass, it almost looks like a little oily sort of viscosity. It just sort of gives it a little bit of a flow. And that creates a mouthfeel. And they must think that, and they must taste, because when we talk to winemakers, the way
or when we do it with them,
mm-hmm. They do like a blending, and they talk about their wines, and they'll add it, and they'll do incremental blending, and they must find that it adds just that little bit of textural characteristic. Sometimes Viognier is added for aromatics. So those small percentages do make a difference. The only way you're ever going to know that is if you had the wines broken out, and you had one that was 100% Chardonnay and one that was 1%
the same vintage and everything.
Same. Like at the blending table when they bring the finished wines in to put them into the blend.
So when they blend at the blending table, like Ron said, they actually have, like, for example, say this is what we were blending. We'd have all these lined up, and we would have our glass, and we'd be like chemistry, mixing and matching, and then the winemaker and whoever else they invite, the owner or whatever it is, they will decide with some loose parameters kind of what they're going to put in. So clearly in 2015 for sure, they decided the 1% Viognier made a positive difference and influence. And in 2017, as Ron was talking about, the Surly or the Batonage, I'm sorry, not the Batonage, the Mallow, perhaps gave it enough rounded feel that they didn't need to add the Semillon, and they didn't think it enhanced it at all. Perhaps. I mean, these are all suppositions. But yes, it does make a difference. And when we've tasted, we've done blending seminars, we absolutely can taste the difference between a small amount added to your glass. Absolutely. And not that I can taste it between these two, although I will tell you, I do think the 17, the 15 is creamier, thicker mouthfeel, a little thicker. I wouldn't be able to say, oh, there's 1% Semillon in here. But I might say, oh, there's something about this one that's a little creamier in the mouth. So, what are you looking at?
I was going to look for alcohol percentage.
Oh, so interesting. I've been listening to Ron. He actually did a tasting for somebody at a request, a Zoom tasting on Saturday night. He was Zooming with a bunch of women who were all over the place, who were supposed to be at a bachelor party, and unfortunately they weren't. So I was listening to him, and I can always tell when he's drinking a wine with some acidity, because it's like he's drooling and trying to prevent from drooling on camera. And I notice he's doing that tonight. So something you're drinking is clearly has you drooling. So that's that whole acidity thing.
It's you, honey.
Talked about. Uh-huh.
We'll be right back. Just kidding.
Nice try.
So before Lorene interrupted me, and before my brain got sidetracked, yes, a little bit of honey, absolutely. And I think the 2015, that honey characteristic can actually develop with a little bit of age. And Barb, you said fizz. So is it fizz just on the palate, or do you see like bubbles in the wine, like in the glass? Let me know that, because that's an interesting thing. So I was talking about surly aging. So when you make a wine, you bring the grapes in, you harvest them. If it's a white wine, you crush them and you drain all the juice out. And or if it's a red wine, you put it through a destemmer and they sort of get beat up a little bit, and then they go into a fermenter and they ferment on the skin. Fizz on the palate. So do you think it's fizz, or do you think that's the acidity and it's giving you a sense that there's like a sensation of it, like the acid that is doing that? Because if it's actually a fizz, that could be like a weird stuck fermentation or a weird fault thing, but you might see a little bit of effervescence in the glass if you see that. There are some wines that are made in the world that have that.
Look at it and see if it's... mine are not fizzing, either one.
I get a lot of good acid on it.
I get a lot of acid.
Yeah.
So interesting, you know, we had the pick pool a couple of weeks ago, and of course pick pool is like prickly lips, is that what it's, or something like that?
Lip stinger.
Lip stinger. You're getting a little bit of that, maybe. And does it taste okay? That's the other thing, Barb, specifically talking to you. So, and by the way, I did figure out where I had to go for being able to see all the comments. So I'm back to y'all and where I should be.
So, can I get back to
please do? I'm
Surly. So Surly aging. When you make wine, you put yeast into it. The yeast eats the sugar, creates alcohol, CO2, and a couple of other byproducts. And then, if they're going to do Surly or on the lees aging, when the yeast cells die and they're no longer consuming anything because they're basically just dead debris in the bottom of the barrel or container, they will sometimes stir the wine through batonnage using in a barrel. It's this weird sort of hook thing that they spin around, and it stirs the wine up, and it gets the wine back in contact with the dead yeast cells, or the lees as they're called, and gives the wine a textural component, gives a little bit more of a mouthfeel. Sometimes it gives it a little bit of aromatics of yeasty, sort of like bready kind of notes. And I don't mean Brettanomyces. I mean like bread, like bread.
Yeast.
Yeah, like yeast.
Making, yeah.
And so that's what Surly means, Surly aging. And you'll see it oftentimes in Chardonnay, because Chardonnay, I probably told you guys this when we talked about Chardonnay. Chardonnay is a grape that is very neutral. So it really takes on the vision of the winemaking stuff versus just the fruit of the grape. So there's a lot of stuff that a winemaker can do. Oak aging, malolactic, Surly, all these things really impart, and that becomes the character of it. Or none of them. So at any rate, so let's talk about, I see people have already been posting. I'm going to do the 15-17 comparison.
I want to say that I think they're very similar. I'm going to talk about them. And I'm really pleased that the 15 and the 17 are so similar and they look so much alike. It's clear that the 15 is aging really well.
The 15 is actually more aromatic.
The 15 is a little bit creamier mouthfeel. Creamy is a heavier mouthfeel. And I think that's the 1% Semillon that I was talking about. I just bumped it. It's okay. So I agree with everything everybody's getting. I do get I get lemon. I definitely get the honey. Ron clearly gets acidity because he's drooling. When I first smelled them, I got that touch of cream corn, but I think that's completely gone away. I'm not getting any cream corn anymore.
Hey, Tom.
And I agree, Melissa. I think it's good. I think it's very good.
And I think the 15, like you said, is more round. It's got more honey. It's more textural. The 17 to me is, somebody mentioned it in the feed already, a little bit more grapefruit, a little more citrus grapefruity.
Lemon. I get
Lemon,
lemon too.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
More so than the 15.
So I think they're, whether you got the 15 or the 17, you did well. I think it's good. So we should move on. We are already at past 7:30. Wow, that was a lot of talking for about one wine, huh? And me lagging with my lack of Facebook knowledge, even though I'm way too far in to have issues. All right.
I get some gum.
Tannin? Gum
Almost
tannin?
like gum tannin.
It's probably because it's oak aged. Probably, yeah.
So we've talked about tannin before, and mostly you only get tannin in red wine. And sometimes I get tannin like on the gums, so just like right on the front of the gums. And I've been told one of my wine instructors along the way talked about how oak and the wood oak aging was more responsible for those gum tannins, where grape tannins presented more on your tongue and your mouth. Whether that's accurate or not, I've heard people, and it's neither here nor there where it comes from. I just get a little bit of it.
It's just fun to talk about too. So
It's fun to blather on about it.
all right, we'll move on
All right.
to the next wine, which I did smell. I have to admit, we smelled all three of them. I didn't taste them, but I was my gut reaction to the next one. I thought it was very nice for the price, because I think if I remember, this is not a pricey wine.
It's not $12.99.
So the nose was nice.
So the next wine is the Palacio del Burgo Rioja, and this is a 2012, and it's a Crianza. So if you look at the label, and you should all have the correct one. And I'm going to talk about that. So this is from Spain, and you do have maps. So I'll direct you to, you should have two maps. You should have a map of Spain, and then you should have a map of Rioja. So if you look at the overall map of Spain, it is sort of in the north central portion of the country. And you see Rioja there. And you can look at all the other wine regions too. And you got Portugal over on the left-hand side. That's where Portugal belongs.
What?
Just saying.
Okay,
If it were anywhere else, that'd be a problem.
that would be a problem.
Like a total paradigm shift on the Iberia Peninsula. The zones of the Rioja on the next page we'll mention, and we'll talk about a little bit, not a ton. So there's three primary areas. There's Rioja Alta, Rioja Alavesa, and then it used to be called Rioja Baja, B-A-J-A, but on this map, this is updated. It is Rioja Oriental, and it's probably pronounced in some other fashion than Oriental, but Oriental, I don't know. Palacio del Burgos is actually located, if you see there on the Rioja map, the Ebro River runs through Rioja, actually runs from the northwest to the southeast. And we can post some of them online. We typically don't, but we certainly can, Andrea.
Yeah, or Andrea, I'll just email them to you.
And the Ebro River runs through there. And you remember from prior conversations that water, rivers, oceans, big lakes, all sorts of things like that, even like small, I won't say ponds, but smaller bodies of water really do a lot to influence wine in a lot of different ways, whether it cools the climate or provides for some sort of humidity if you want to have botrytis-sized wine, which is where it's a noble rot. It rots the grapes and makes them sweet. And so the Ebro River runs all the way through Rioja, and that's like the defining characteristic of the valley other than altitude and soils. However, getting back to Palacio de Burgos falls right in sort of the middle of the Rioja Oriental, just south of the Sadagos Valley, and all of those other rivers that run into the Ebro, they all create their own valleys. You know, that's where rivers run through. And so there's, I think, like 7 primary valleys within Rioja. And so this one is sort of in that Rioja Oriental. And if you were to really break down Rioja's region, it's generally accepted, it's generally, accepted that the Alavesa region and Alta region are sort of the better quality because of the soil, because of the altitude, the slightly more mountainous. But that doesn't mean that winemaking can be great all over the place. And there's a huge history of Rioja that I'm not going to go into.
Because it would be another hour.
More. Other than the fact that, and because Tom's here, I got to plug his wine. if you read anything about the history, you know there's a couple of super iconic producers, and Lopez de Heredia is one of those super iconic producers. Fabulous, amazing, incredible wine. We carry it. It's got the fishnet stocking thing over the...
Oh, yeah, that is a... Yeah, as soon as he said that, that was the clue as to what wine he was
As soon as
talking
I
about.
said fishnet stockings,
Yes,
and I said
it
something
is
about
actually, I don't
fashion...
think... I don't think Sarah's on yet, but it's one of Sarah's favorites. It's one of her go-tos.
It's a killer.
It is.
Killer Rioja.
It is.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Couple of things. Yes. Somebody suggested pepper, and I asked if they were getting like the spice pepper or like the vegetable. After they said that, actually I got the spice pepper. Yeah. Again, power of suggestion. Thank you, Barb. That was a good suggestion. So I definitely got that. Eucalyptus. Interesting. Yes. I can see that too. Not quite mint, but that cooling-ish sensation. I get that too. I think that was a good one. Yeah. Thanks, Kira. That's right.
There's also, in addition to the pepper, like black pepper, there's also a dark herbal characteristic, like not oregano or thyme, but something in sort of that, and not very green, more of that sort
dried,
of rustic,
like
a dried
spice. Mm-hmm. I actually think when you said oregano, I think that's it.
That makes me hungry for pizza, and we're not having pizza.
We're not having pizza. We're having
pizza. We're having soup. Who has soup for dinner?
We're having soup.
Soup is like an appetizer, unless it's chili. Chili's a dinner.
All right.
And anybody who calls chili soup, chili is not soup. Chili is chili. It's not chili soup. That's just goofy.
Kelly said that she got cigar box or cedar. Yes, I see that. So Kim, how often should you swirl your glass? Constantly. I know you've been on a lot, and you've heard us talk about swirling. Ron actually swirls everything from his orange juice to his milk to his coffee because it becomes such habit because we swirl everything so constantly. Yeah, I get a little cranberry, a little fruit. There's definitely fruit in here.
Somebody said mosquito repellent.
Oh. I think that's the cranberry. I think that's
citronella. So what do they flavor citronella with?
Well, citrus.
Right.
Lemon.
Yeah.
I think that's why I think cranberry.
Do cranberries repel mosquitoes?
Do lemons?
I don't know. Good question. If cranberries repel mosquitoes, we would have none in Wisconsin because of ocean spray.
That is true.
I think we're the world's largest producer of cranberries.
I think we are.
Well,
we
not me and you.
So,
that'd be cool.
That would be cool. So back to this wine, $12.99. I think it's actually, we've talked about this too. That if you can say like 50 different things you get out of a wine, usually that tells you that it's a decent wine, and I think it's a decent wine. Oh, you guys got mosquitoes already, Kelly? So we have some people who are sitting outside, and they have mosquitoes.
Kelly, you don't douse yourself in it. You just drink so much of it that exudes sweats out of you, and then that's how you repel. Kind of like they say vitamin... Isn't one of the vitamins supposed to repel mosquitoes if you take it?
I don't know, but be sure you're not like Vladimir on TV and say the wrong vitamin. The news guy, he said the wrong vitamin, and everybody corrected him. So don't even say it. Just pretend you...
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The Vlad, the news guy.
Oh!
So anyway, he doesn't...
You say Vladimir, I think Putin. It's like he was on the news talking about vitamins?
No. Okay, so anyway, we should move on.
You're talking about Vlad, what to watch on CBS this morning.
Yes. Because we watched Channel 9 because one of our favorite
7.
news people... I'm sorry, 7. Oops.
God almighty, woman.
Because one of our favorite news people is on Channel 7.
Not one of. Our most absolute
the
favorite.
Best one.
Right.
Yes. Not sure if she's still watching us, but she was.
I wasn't going to use a name because I don't want to
call her out.
Right.
All right. Yes. We got lemon eucalyptus. Is a great repellent, is what somebody says. And we've now have eucalyptus and citronella in this. So nice. Good calls, you guys. All right, let's move on to the next wine. No? Oh, he wants to talk.
I got to talk about something else. Oh. So this wine, I haven't really talked about the wine. We've just been talking about what it tastes like. Put on a spectacle.
That's talking about the wine.
So this is a blend of 90% Tempranillo. Tempranillo is the most grown grape in Rioja. It is sort of the grape of Rioja. So if you ever see wine from Rioja and a bunch of other regions, Ribera del Duero and Toro, it's known by different names, but Tempranillo is sort of the grape of the day there. And 10% Graciano. On Graciano, so we're talking about grape blending. Graciano is a very dark colored grape. It's typically a blending grape, and adds color and consistency to this. If we look at it, it's aged in American fine-grained oak for 12 months. Rioja went through a stage where it was like super over-oaked, and American oak was the primary one. And so American oak really imparts sort of the sweetness, the sweet vanilla characteristic to, I'll get there, Kelly. Of course, you know it, so you can just type it.
Nice job, Kelly.
Hey, Karen. And for 12 months. So American oak really adds, a lot of that oak characteristic. Thankfully, this one is not, to me, doesn't like come off super, super heavily oaked. And Kieran, just because he's on and he reminded me, we were actually at this winery in Spain.
With Kieran.
Yeah. We were drunk with Kieran a lot that trip.
It was a good trip.
Yeah. So this is one of the importers that we like a lot. And we were at this winery. I should post a picture of us out in front of the winery. Cool place. Awesome trip to Spain. This wine got 90 points from Wine Spectator.
Keep going. I will
Sorry.
comment.
Well, you laugh. I want to see what you're laughing about.
Sorry.
And 90 points Venice. At $12.99, this is a killer wine. So why is it named Crianza? So in Spain and in the growing of wines there and making wines, Spain has actual designations. So you've probably seen wine bottles that say reserve or something like that on the label. In the United States, the word reserve means nothing, nada, zero, zilch, zippo. What other words can I say means nothing? It doesn't mean anything. So
Egg.
if you...
Big old egg.
Yeah. If you see, let's say you go into a store, maybe even our store, but you go in and you see the $5.99 bottle of wine and it says it's blah, 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 reserve Chardonnay, reserve Cabernet. If it's made in the United States, reserve has no legal definition. That being said, reputable wine makers, reputable wineries may have a standard line and then a reserve line, and they label it reserve. What that generally means, if it's from a quality producer, is that they use the better fruit to make that wine from better sites, all sorts of things. However, in places like Spain, in Italy, the word reserve or riserva means something. So Crianza on the label of this, in Rioja and in majority of Spain, but Rioja is actually, their legal requirements are different than the rest of Spain. In Rioja, there are 4 designations of aging requirements, aging levels. One is if it's just named or labeled Rioja, and that's generally considered a Joven, Joven, or young, Joven. Then there's Crianza, which this wine is. Then there's Reserva, and then there's Gran Reserva. And they all have to do with how long they're aged. Total aging from the time that they're harvested to the time that they're released, in addition to a portion of that where they have to be aged in a barrel for a certain amount of time. So I have my notes. I want to make sure I get it right because I don't want to be espousing incorrect information.
It's exact time frames, and that's what he wants to make sure that he tells you, so he doesn't sound like an idiot when he's wrong.
Well, I kind of am an idiot. I don't know where it went.
So and now he can't find it, so he's going to sound like an idiot anyway. But it's you have the basics.
I do have the basics. I wrote them all down. Here we go. I got them. All right. So just so I know I have them right, because I always confuse between Rioja and other places. So Joven or young is generally speaking low or no oak, very like no aging requirement. So you see just like a Rioja on the shelf, there's no aging requirement. Crianza is a total of 24 months of aging, requiring 12 months in oak, 12 months in bottle. Reserva is 1 year in oak, 2 years in bottle, so 36 months total aging. And Grand Reserva is a total of 5 years of aging, with 2 years in oak, 3 years in bottle. And that's Rioja. From other places in Toro and Ribera del Duero, there are going to be different requirements. So that's what the Crianza means, is that it was aged for a minimum of 12 months in oak and 12 months in bottle before it's released and before it hits our shelves. So that's just a quality or a designation of aging. So now the next question is, does that mean the wine is better? Well, first of all, better is a personal thing. However, if I am a wine grower and I make a wine and it's only like okay fruit, it's good fruit, but it's not great fruit, I'm not going to spend the time and the money and the resources to age that fruit in order to put it onto the market, because space is...
Assuming you have better grapes.
Well, yeah. Reserva, again, is 1 year in oak, 2 years in bottle. So 12 months in oak. These are minimums.
It could be longer.
It
That's
could
just
be
what
longer.
they're... Yeah.
12 months in oak and 24 months in bottle for Reserva.
Keep going with your...
But
bring you back around.
It's not necessarily a quality designation. It's really about how long it's aged, but you're not going to take the time to age it that long if the fruit is not going to be that quality. So generally speaking, if you see a wine that's labeled Grand Reserva, Reserva, Crianza, it's going to be better than the younger one, just as a matter of function of why you would do something.
Can you once again just repeat those quickly?
Yes.
Sorry to bring you back around, but...
Nope. Hoven is like no oak requirement, nothing. Hoven meaning young. And those wines are good, but they're typically easier, fresher, a lot more fruit-centric.
Usually less expensive because they don't require that extra aging, which
Yes.
means time that they're sitting around waiting for it.
And
So.
Diane just asked. Yep, and well, I'll mention that.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
talk about Diane.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Crianza is 1 year in oak and 1 year in bottle, so 12 months in oak, 12 months in bottle. Reserva is 12 months in oak and 2 years in bottle. Again, these are minimums. Grand Reserva is 2 years in oak, 3 years in bottle, so total of 5 years. So what that means is by the time we get a bottle of Grand Reserva, it's already 5 years old, and they can age much longer. So the question is, does that mean they're more expensive? Typically, yes. As Lorene just posted, time and space.
Space not being grand space, but the space in the cellar.
Not space like the moon, the stars, and the sun, and galaxies and planets.
And the Odyssey, and Space Odyssey.
But space is being warehouse space, because you're going to
Cave
pay for
space
that
or-
time. Yeah. Yep.
So, absolutely. So, we're going to move on to the next wine. And as we're all starting to taste it, we had a question. Somebody, I think, is feeling excluded, and we don't mean to exclude you. So, we want to make sure you all know who we are. Ron probably addressed this the very first Facebook Live, and he hasn't talked about it again, I don't think. Who are we? We are wine lovers, and who started the shop because I wanted something to do other than my job. I still have a job, and I'm still doing that full time, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. And Ron, fortunately, is retired. His background is he has some education. He's taken classes and he's taken tests, and he's actually a certified wine specialist and a
Certified specialist of wine.
certified specialist of wine and a level 3 WSET passee, which just means Wine and Spirits Education Trust, which just means he knows a little bit about wine according to the books, according to the tests.
The key is I drink a lot.
That's the bigger thing. So
And when I say a lot, I mean a lot.
he always makes it sound like we're alcoholics.
We've got 4 bottles of wine open.
We're
plus-
not drinking them all tonight,
How
by
many?
the way.
How many are open in the refrigerator?
But that's the point. We don't drink them all.
We've got
We've got wines open in the refrigerator. We don't drink them all. That's the point. Half of them we dump. We do dump some. So anyway, let's move on to the next wine.
Down my throat.
Don't tell anybody we dump wine once in a while. It's just because we have too much of it.
Dump it down my gullet.
Anyway.
In my belly.
Okay. That's
Who asked who we were?
somebody who was feeling a little excluded. So
I don't want them to be excluded.
I know, that's what I was saying. They didn't feel like a regular.
That's sad.
So I
We had tissue now.
that was my take on it.
Oh.
So
They weren't really feeling excluded?
no, I don't think so. They don't.
They're probably not even watching anymore. They probably are like,
Probably got bored with us. All right, we'll move on to
these people just yammer
the
on and on
Justin.
about wine.
The Justin.
I'm not done with the Rioja.
It's very good, by the way, for $12. It's delicious. I think it's good stuff. So, and my Facebook is stalled. So, hi Ange, welcome. Hopefully Tim is with you. So I think our internet went down, but moving on.
Well, it didn't because we're still on.
Was this on internet?
Yeah, well, it's on Wi-Fi. Oh my God.
There's my example of how slow I am.
Lorene is one of the most technologically, she's like really super smart, but technology.
So, Justin, from Paso Robles. Very, very hot area in California. One of my favorite areas. I did say Napa was one of my favorites. I honestly am a California girl. I'm not from California, but I really like California wine. And I would move out to Paso. I would move out to Napa in a heartbeat. But that won't be happening. So.
I was looking at houses on Realtor today in Paso.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's crazy expensive, aren't they?
Not crazy like Napa crazy.
So you can get a house in Napa, like 3 bedrooms and 1 bath for $1 million. There's a steal there in the vineyards.
I don't even know. I don't think that'd be in the vineyards even.
So, anyway.
No, I found a couple for like 2.8.
Oh, Kim. Kim is the one who asked who our background, and she's a California girl. Lucky you. Why are you here? I don't mean joining us. I mean, are you in Wisconsin? I should just even ask that. Maybe she's not even in Wisconsin. Are you in Wisconsin, Kim?
Melissa's a California girl too. I'm sure she'll chime in.
Yes, she is. She looks like it, though.
Except she's pasty. I don't mean that bad.
She takes care of her skin.
That's true.
Just like me.
Yes. She
She's
protects
not-
her skin.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll see we're all cut up. It's not because we're like self-mutilating or anything, but because we were out doing work. I saw you were all cut up, and I want
I
to
am
make
all
sure
cut
people
up.
don't think you're all... I actually have scratches even on my cheek from... So,
Yard work yesterday.
anyway, we'll move on
Look,
to...
Diane's a California girl too.
Wow, we got a couple of people on. 3, at least 3. So, Justin, Paso Robles, very hot region. And it is Paso Robles, not Paso Robles. And I thought it was Paso Robles until I went there and I was listening to the news and they were calling it Paso Robles. So that's what it is. Paso
Or just
Robles.
Paso.
Or Paso. Yes. Hi, Melissa. Melissa's sort of a California girl, too. Second Melissa, Melissa Dubois. Melissa, you met Melissa in California. So. And I can't get to my Facebook. I might have to restart us, so.
Okay. All right, so 2017, Justin Cabernet Sauvignon. You have the bottles, you have the tech sheet. As Lorene said, it's a pretty warm region. And the winery, if you looked at a map, you've got Highway 101 that runs pretty much all the way from north to south, from way down south. But where I'm talking about is pretty much from Santa Barbara all the way up to San Francisco Bay Area. And that region is the central coast of California for the generic overall. With that, from north to south, you've got pretty much the San Francisco Bay Area, then you've got Monterey, then you've got Paso Robles, then you've got San Luis Obispo, and then you've got Santa Barbara. So that's sort of the designations, all those big areas within the central coast of California. If you found the city of Paso Robles and then you drove to the west toward the ocean, maybe, well, actually by the drive because it's really curvy.
Right, it depends on whether you're doing as the crow flies.
Right. It's not really far as the crow flies, but on the road it's really, really curvy out to the winery. And actually, Ryan was on, and we were out in California.
Ryan's on?
He was. I saw him. We were out in Paso, and we have a really great story about our drive out to Paso that I'm not going to tell here.
There were no bathrooms. That's all I have to say.
I wasn't even going to say anything.
Anyway.
Lorraine's not a California girl. She's a Wisconsin girl. So that means when you got to go, you got to go.
We were wine drinking. So anyway, let's move on. It's a very curvy road, and it's long. From downtown San Luis Obispo. We were in San Luis Obispo. Or were we in Paso? Anyway, I think we were in San Luis Obispo. And we had to take this drive, and at least I didn't get car sick. Because it's a curvy drive. I didn't get car sick. I just had to go to the bathroom. So.
Not unlike the drive we had from Sonoma to Napa when one of our guests...
Oh, she had to go too.
She had to go too.
She waited and went in a porta potty.
Yeah, she wouldn't go behind a tree.
So.
That's because she's a California girl.
So
And
it does smell...
She's cursing me right now. All right.
I think this smells exactly like black raspberries. I think it smells delicious. It's a great cab. It's hot weather fruit. You can tell it's hot weather fruit. You don't get the earthiness or anything like that. You are seriously getting big old fruit bomb. It's probably one that when we get done smiling, our teeth are all going to be purple. No Mega Purple, I guarantee it. They did not add Mega Purple to this, so. Delicious wine.
That's right. She didn't go in a porta potty. She outed herself, so we'll call her out on it too. Never mind. I'm not going to say it.
So we will move on. We've all had to go to the bathroom. That's the point of this whole conversation.
So the Justin was aged for 13 months in American oak, 25% of which was new. So that means 75% would have been not new. And they probably, and I don't recall from the visit there, they probably have some sort of a rotational thing where they have like 25% new, and then the next vintage the barrels sort of move out. So they'll probably be like a 1 year old. A new, a 1 year, a 2 year, a 3 year for their 25, 25, 25, and they rotate their barrels through. A lot of wineries do that sort of type of transition. So the vintage notes, hot weather, especially late in the year, really ripens and plumps up the fruit.
The other thing I want to say about Justin, if you make it out to California, Paso Robles, San Luis Obispo area, get a reservation at their restaurant. I think they have, 8 tables only?
Well, it's a little bigger now.
No, we were at the bigger one.
Yeah.
No, it was the littler one that we were at the first time. We've been there twice. And we had dinner one time at tiny. I think the current is only 8 tables.
No, it was bigger than that.
Okay. All the same. Get a reservation, eat there. They do a fantastic job. The night we were there was like a Wednesday or a Thursday or something. And there were only us, the 4 of us, and one other table. And it was fantastic. And we even got chocolates at the end. I don't like chocolate with wine. I like chocolate with chocolate. And that was a nice little perk. But this is a great wine for 30-ish bucks.
$33.99, 34 bucks.
It's a nice wine.
It's a ton of fruit.
That's what I
It's
said.
like all fruit.
Barb said she got some tobacco, and I asked her on the nose or palate, and I haven't heard yet.
Yes, currants.
Currants. Okay. I gotta get those currants. I gotta try that. Somebody said currants are a little bit like raisins. But I would imagine a little more fruit than raisin. I don't know. That's how we taste. That's how we learn. I'm going to go buy some, and I'm going to taste them, and that's how I'm going to learn what a currant tastes like, and so I can get it with the rest of you. I think there's oak on this. You can tell it's oak aged. Vanilla. Vanilla is the oak characteristic. I definitely get the vanilla.
13 months in American oak.
Probably new American oak.
25% new.
Oh, okay. Which is good. Well, good. I shouldn't say good. Which rounds it out a little bit.
There's a lot of tannin. So one of the things when you taste wine, especially if you're like tasting, you're just like taking small drinks and you're thinking about it. Tannin is one of these things that builds So from my first drink to now, the tannin characteristics have built and they sort of like stick with you. And so there's a lot of tannin. This is young wine.
This is young wine. Mark says he gets licorice. I see that, especially on the finish is when I'm getting the licorice.
Black or red?
Kind of like
red.
Yeah, I was going to say it. So there's two different licorices. There's Twizzlers, and there's licorice you get from Fleet Farm. Which licorice do you get? You know, the licorice from Fleet Farm is the harder licorice.
I don't like licorice.
I like licorice. But I agree. I get licorice too, Mark. I agree with that.
So which do you get? Twizzlers or Fleet Farm?
I think it's Fleet Farm licorice.
Say that
Licorice.
5 times.
Fleet Farm.
Fleet Farm licorice.
Fleet Farm licorice. And I mean, hardly anything to drink. Fleet Farm licorice. Cherries. Yes, cherries. I see the cherries. But a ripe red cherry, not a cherry like a dark cherry. Not
Like a black cherry?
A black cherry versus a bright. I get darker fruit versus the bright fruit. So. Oh, we're past our time. So, what else do you want to say about this wine,
You
honey?
can just stand and get soup.
Keep talking. What do you want to say about this wine? Because I know you have things you want to say.
So I think this wine is going to develop.
What year is it?
Twizzlers and 17.
Twizzlers aren't licorice.
What was that?
Twizzlers aren't licorice. Yeah,
What are
licorice.
Twizzlers?
They are licorice. They're just making fun. So.
Do you taste different things when you drink the same wine?
Do you mean from night to night?
Or-
Yes. Or from time to time? Yes. Yes. Actually, the answer would be yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this wine is young, and I like this wine, but it's not, to me, like a big, serious cab. And I think that it's going to improve. I think the tannin is going to settle down a little bit, and I would suspect it's going to develop some more secondary characteristics, like the tertiary characteristics of bottle aging. So hopefully the fruit darkens a little bit. The tannins mellow, become a little bit rounder, a little softer.
When he says improves, he doesn't mean it's bad now.
No.
He just means it's going to, in his mind, get better.
It's going to develop a little more complexity, because right now it's just a lot of fruit, which is what, I mean, Lodi to me is a lot of fruit.
Yeah. Well, it's not Lodi. It's Paso. And that's what you meant. Yes. It is. It's a hot climate. And they make big, bold wines. So if you like big, bold wines, if you like Napa, try Paso too. If you haven't yet, experiment with it. And Mark said he gets black licorice. I don't like black licorice.
I've never had black licorice. Oh, black licorice, yeah, like anise.
Like jelly beans?
I don't like. I mean, black licorice matters.
Anyway, we'll move on to the next. So, do we taste different things when we drink the same wine? And seriously, if you meant night to night or time to time or bottle to bottle, absolutely, every single time. And even when I drink one taste and then two tastes and then 10 tastes in. You know, one night we talked about how tannins build. So I think that's the other thing is this is likely a tannic wine. Right now I'm not tasting it because I'm not getting a lot of the oak. I'm getting more of the bright fruit or the dark fruit, I mean. But tannins build. So every time you taste, you're going to taste a little bit different too. So absolutely everything you taste, or every time you taste, you get something new. And hopefully in a quality wine, you get more. In a wine that you want to drink again, you get more. You get another taste. Or somebody says something, which is part of the fun of drinking with other people. You get something different. Or you're watching a movie and 20 minutes into the movie, you stop the movie and you say, oh my God, did you taste this wine again? It's incredible.
I hate it when she stops the movie.
I do that. I'm like,
it
did you taste
totally
this wine?
disrupts the flow.
So.
I think Diane asked if there are wines that aren't our favorite or that we don't like.
Yeah.
So one of our things at the shops, and maybe I've mentioned it individually to some of you, I'm sure, we taste about 90 to 95% of all the wines that come into the shop. So if it is on our shelves, it's probably a wine that we have tasted somewhere along the way. It's one of those things where we want to know that we made a conscious decision to put it on the shelf. We have some customer requests, sometimes stuff that a distributor asks us to bring in, but almost universally, 90% of the wine we taste. That means we taste wines that we're like, meh, it's fine, but it doesn't represent well at the price point, for the region, for the style. And that's sort of how we judge
But
it.
there's also wines that I'm like, okay, this is a good wine, but I'm not drinking it. Sweet wines. I don't drink sweet wines. Dessert wines. I don't drink dessert wines. A lot of people love them. We sell a crap load of sweet wine, and they're very, very important to us. That doesn't mean I drink it.
Which brings me to a really, really, like, from a professional tasting perspective, that is absolutely critical. So you can taste all these wines, and you may not like one of them, but that doesn't mean it's not a quality wine. So when we sit down and we taste with the rep through 5, 10, 15 wines, whatever it is, we may hit upon a wine that we would not necessarily drink, but we know it's quality wine for the style, for the region, at a price point, and it fits a niche, even though we would not necessarily drink it. And Rieslings, Moscatos, we almost never drink them. We don't drink sweet wine, but that doesn't mean we can't taste it and say, this is good for this wine. So the important thing is, don't judge a wine by saying, I don't like it, therefore it's a bad wine. You say, it's probably a quality wine, but I don't care for, and that's not my preference. That's the big thing.
And in reality, almost all wines today are probably quality wines. At least the wines that we're carrying.
Yes.
Because
That's a discerning.
and we don't want to diss anybody either.
No, but there's a difference.
Yeah, well, we don't carry jug wine. And jug wine is probably fine. It's just not fine for our store. Hear, hear. On that note, I hope you all enjoyed tonight's tasting. We did talk very briefly. Next week is Argentina. The wines are ready to go. They are at the stores. The following week, we are waiting for the third one to come in. I'm very excited about the third wine. It's
Super duper exclusive, cool wine from a relatively small producer out of California called Woodenhead. Great wine. It's a cool blend.
And we are one of the few who will be able to carry that. It's not going to be everywhere in every store. It's not going to be in Wisconsin a lot. And it's not even going to be in the United States a lot. Other than at Woodenhead, the winery. It was a winery exclusive except for a few select people. So thank you, Tom, for getting us into that select people. We'll have that in 2 weeks. And then in 3 weeks, Corey has committed from Dusted Valley. He will be on. So it won't be me. It'll be Ron and Corey side by side. You'll have that little leg like you get on the news.
Hopefully the technology works out for me.
So we will be seeing you all, hopefully, in 1 week for Argentina.
And, we're really, 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 really happy. Woodenhead, interesting name. I'll tell you the story about why the winery is called Woodenhead when we taste it.
Yes. There is a story.
There's a story. But, and so you got to tune in and get the wine if you want to know why it's called Woodenhead.
And Melissa, you can just tune in because I know it's kind of hard to get here from Florida. So just tune in and watch us.
So we know that there's a really core group of you. Spread the word for us. Tell people, tell your friends, share the link on your Facebook. Encourage all your wine drinking friends to stop into the shop, to tune in.
You don't even have to be from the area. You can just tune in and see us.
Right, and we identify the wines ahead of time so people can find them. That'd be great.
Yeah. So, I don't know what will happen if the couch tasting will return. I like it. I like the format. We'll see. It's fun. It's we enjoy it. I don't like watching the video afterward. It kind of makes me uncomfortable. So I haven't actually watched to see how we do.
We're horrible.
So, but for sure, we're through this month other than Memorial Day. We probably won't do Memorial Day.
And big, and So we're working on the Dustin Valley wines, and I want to mention it because it's going to be May 18th. Yes, we'll do a patio tasting. As soon as it's warm.
That is a great idea.
We actually thought about doing the tasting on our deck tonight.
I think it's. I was a little too cold for me.
Look, our living room is really dark right now.
It is.
We were going to do the tasting on the deck, but Cinderella here couldn't handle the chilly weather. Last night I sat on the deck for like an hour.
So anyway,
May 18th. May 18th is the Dustin Valley tasting. And May 18th is also a very, very, one of the most important dates to us as well. And because of the weird COVID thing, we're almost always on vacation. We were supposed to be in France. We were supposed to be in France in May and over May 18th. Because it's actually our wedding anniversary. So we will be celebrating our wedding anniversary with all of you and with Corey from Dustin Valley and drinking some great wine. So we might actually start with bubbles, and maybe we'll start with champagne ahead of time on Facebook.
You don't have to join us, but we'll tell you what we're going to do.
Or maybe we'll open up and they can drink champagne with us to celebrate our anniversary.
So.
How many years is it? 112?
Exactly.
18 years.
So, 18, Diane.
18.
All right.
So, I think that's it.
We're over.
These are getting progressively longer. So, if we continue through next month, we'll be like at 10:30, 11 o'clock
We'll be at midnight. Yeah. So, good night, everybody. Yeah. Cheers. Enjoy.
Good night.
Cheers. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Enjoy your evening. Have a great week. And we'll see you soon.